All right, Tim, you're at number 9.
No, Jesus, we're all right. 9,
and then you're going to hit 8, and then I'm going to roll back.
Got it.
We're snaking it.
My number 9 is the John David Washington vehicle, The Creator.
You know, that was one that the preview looked interesting. It got okay reviews, and I just never went or pulled the trigger, even when it came up online. Okay.
This
Tim,
is
two in a row that you're giving me that I need to watch.
Well, because this was all right. There's nothing else on. It's either this or fucking 18 seasons of Hell's Kitchen, and how many halibut can you burn? Mm-hmm. So I turned it on, and I didn't expect shit from it, and it ended up being really, really good. I was and I'm not a big sci-fi person, it's got a really, but essentially what it's about is AI brings upon a nuclear blast in Los Angeles, and then
sounds about right.
Yeah. And then, humanity, or at least the U.S., spends the rest of the time fighting these artificial intelligence robots around the world. Except there's like a golden child of sorts, and that's all I'll say. But let me tell you, action-wise, really great. Washington is fantastic in it. And I had a lot of fun with it. It just was really fun. Nobody else saw it.
I'm with Chris in that. I will say you're like the 5th person that said it's worth watching, which is why I think now you're going to finally pull the trigger. I'm finally going to pull the trigger on it.
He honestly, given the right sort of trajectory, the right projects and stuff, he could be have the longevity and be as good as or close to what his dad is able to do, because he's fantastic in everything that I've seen him in.
He's usually the better part of most of the things that I see, for sure. He was great in this. I just really. It was a good movie to be able to shut your mind off to and just watch. And there was a couple of things, but for the most part, it was pretty seamless. So I was impressed by it. I highly recommend, if you have time, if you're sitting there on a weekend, football's almost over, throw it on. It's on Hulu.
Cool. Yeah. I'm going to do a back-to-back of Haunting in Venice and The Creator.
And probably whatever Tim says at number 8 too.
My number 8. Well, my number 8 is Alexander Payne's Holdovers.
That is my number 7.
That is much higher for me too. It's my number 3. So.
Oh wow!
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
On the list or
on the list?
Okay.
Okay. So then I'm gonna hold off until we get up to somebody else's, because I just went.
Okay. Cool. We'll hold over.
There you go.
All right. My number 8. My number 8, I had seen a bunch of it was on every top 10 list, and but it was one of those limited releases that I don't even think was playing locally, and then it just fucking popped up on Prime as I just was like, oh, I'll look it up. I was like, oh shit, I can rent this or buy this or whatever. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll check it out. So I was like 6 a.m. So it was before anybody in my house even woke up. And then by the time the family woke up, I was like, fuck, that was a great movie. That was it just, that has nothing to do with the movie, by the way. It's just, I don't know why.
I'm curious now.
Yeah, no, you built it up long enough, Yeah,
sorry, no. It's Anatomy of a Fall.
Oh, that's higher for me, yeah.
My number 7.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
But no, we can talk
Kev,
about
is it on your list, or should we wait till
much higher
up? All right, let's wait.
I will wait. Well, we'll just gloss past mine too. You liked it, obviously. If you want to say a 30-second pitch.
Yes. Liked it. And Kevin and I discussed a little bit. Don't ever get arrested in France, because apparently you can just bring opinion and conjecture and emotion into every argument without actually having to prove any facts.
Yep.
So Yeah.
Au revoir, Shoshana.
Wasn't that Germany?
Was it?
Oh no, that was France. Yeah. They rolled over for the Nazis. I forgot.
Germans, forget it. He's rolling.
For the sake of keeping the list going, I'm gonna just make Anatomy of a Fall my number 8, and that we'll talk about it later. I'll just say that it's my number 8, and then we can go over to Kevin, and then when we get to it, we'll have a longer conversation. I really enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
Let's see. My number 8 is Tom Cruise is fucking amazing.
All right.
That record made that. My number 7, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys grew up going to elementary school reading the Judy Blume books.
Yep.
Vivid memory. We went through everything. I remember one, like, Iggy's House was one that kind of like brought the time of storytelling down, because the teacher was reading it didn't realize she's gonna have to say a certain N-word, and that just sucked the air out the room. But this was a story that I'm pretty sure I read, and Brandon's like, no, well, a couple decades ago. But watching this movie was fucking amazing. Rachel McAdams is, once again, we keep talking about people getting robbed and stuff. She may have been robbed of a nomination. Benny Safdie is fucking amazing, which this was a great year for Safdie.
No, he was in some.
We'll talk about it. I'm sure we're going to talk about something later, but this was a great year for him. You talk about, I think Kelly Craig is her name, the director. Once again, we are throwing people kind of on the bus, talking about certain female directors should be nominated, but while not really paying attention to other ones who did just as well, if not better. This is one of the ones where I honestly didn't really want to watch at first, because I remember in the back of the head, I knew the story kind of. It was on Stars. I was home, put it on, and at the end of it, I was like, this is The Edge of 17. It hit me like that. It's a beautiful fucking movie. It's a great story. It's a coming of age tale. You feel a lot of the emotion that, quite frankly, I think another movie got a lot of credit for, but this one deserved.
Huh. I'm curious what movie that is.
It's on your list, Andrew.
Oh, okay. The much less expensive movie.
A much less expensive way of going about it. Yes.
So I had the choice of this movie or another one. I forget the name of it, but it starred Michelle Williams, and she's like an artist. Is that on your list too?
No. I'm trying to think of the name.
We're both blanking on the name. Regardless, I had the choice to see this or that, because I had like a free 2
and you
hours.
saw Detroit.
And I like the other one, but I heard that
call back.
The only thing I'll say is that whereas Detroit ended up on Jim's bottom 10, the movie I saw wouldn't end up on my bottom 10. It's just like in the mid 30s. And I've heard "Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret" is really good, and it's one of my more regretful blind spots. I agree.
Yeah, I didn't see that one, but I did see that like it got. Like, you think of it, you're like, oh, like afternoon type movie, or like, oh, I remember that book when I was a kid. But like, it got a lot of really positive recognition. Yeah. So yeah, I got to watch that. I text that, by the way, a lot to Tara when she doesn't answer me for a while.
What? Are you there, God?
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret.
Dick. Yeah, she texts back, "Are you there, whiskey? It's me, Tara."
Oh, it's my turn. Okay.
Yes.
Hold on. I'm trying to figure out what's Showing Up. That's the name of this movie. By Kelly Reichardt. That's the movie, Kev. Okay.
Showing Up.
So I think this.
What number are we up? 7?
We're at 7.
Damn,
yeah.
we're at 7.
We went. What y'all know about 7?
Briggs and Ray once rolled 77 sevens in a row. Sorry.
Oh, man. Okay. So
it would not be an episode if we didn't have a Chappelle break.
Right. Every episode should. Okay. My number 7 is a movie that I doubt you guys have seen, but I hope you have, because nobody saw it. I only know about it because the Vudu account that I share with one of my friends, he bought it and was like,
Is it Haitian?
No, it's called
Serbian
Somewhere
film?
in Serbian film. I hope nobody. There are certain countries that can't see that movie. Okay, so what have I told you at the beginning of the year or before tonight that a movie directed by Ray Romano would make my top 10? Yes, you would put on a nasally voice and be like, "Oh, come on! Why does everyone hate me?"
It's my wife.
You sound like the blind guy from the movie where they attack his house. What's it called? Don't breathe.
Don't breathe.
I don't want
the guy who tries to impregnate his own daughter with a turkey baster full of his own load.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. In the weirdest segue possible. So there's Ray Romano's directorial debut, Somewhere in Queens. It is quite literally a story about a guy who is working a construction job with his family business. One of his buddies that played Gianni in Everybody Loves Raymond is in it. He wears Mets and Jets and Knicks apparel throughout it. Again, you're talking to, as somebody that now lives in Queens is wearing a Mets hat. Like literally, my job is to cover the Knicks. This spoke directly to me. The things that happen with his inability to connect with his kids, with what's going on with his wife. His wife has I won't say exactly what's going on, but there's his son who plays basketball, and he's vicariously living his son's success. He's living it through him. His son has other interests and may not want to commit to like go to college and play basketball. And he's trying to both like keep his son's dream alive by keeping his own dream alive by living through his son. And the avenues that the script takes, there are some absurd things that happen, and it's like, oh, because it's your movie, you made it that you got to do this, Ray Romano, I get it. But by the end of it, I was so blown away with the conclusion to just about every single character's arc in this. And again, just the knowing exactly where every single location was shot in this, the resolution with his dad at the end of it too. I just really dug this, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I would be like interested to see what Ray Romano does next, So Somewhere in Queens is my number 7.
That's cool. I'm glad he did well with this, because he's done really well.
He does interesting stuff.
Acting parts. Like, I don't know if you guys watched Made for Love on HBO. It's an amazing sci-fi series about this tech guy who, runs a company like Facebook or Google, and he develops, much like Neuralink, a chip that can connect you perpetually with your love, so you can see their what they see, you can think what they think. Ultimately, obviously, it's insanely invasive and disastrous, because that's not what love is. And he plays Kristen Milioti, the comedian, who's also really good in a bunch of other things, including that Sandberg movie, the time loop one. But he plays her father.
Yes,
Palm Springs. He plays her father, who at a second phase in life falls in love with a sex doll. And it's great. Like, he's funny, he's dramatic. He's been in some oddball acting roles where he's proven that he can be dramatic or weird and not just nasally Ray Romano.
The Big Sick's the one I always go back to.
Is yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And him starting out the HBO show Bookie was I thought,
dude.
fucking awesome.
I don't know if you guys haven't watched that. That fucking show is so funny,
amazing,
and so entertaining.
Yes,
I don't like Sebastian Maniscalco's stand-up at all. Like, either. I just haven't. I've watched all of them, and I
think he's talented.
There's some chuckles in there.
Yeah.
He's very obviously demonstrative, and I actually thought he was really good in The Irishman.
He was good in The Irishman.
He plays this
perfect
character. He's fucking great in it. It is perfect. So entertaining. It's from Chuck Lorre.
Yeah.
It's about a guy sort of in the age of FanDuel and DraftKings who's still a bookie. And there's all sorts of crazy, like, great cameos. ridiculous stuff that happens during the episodes, but it's a
Charlie
great
Sheen's in like 3
season.
episodes.
It's a great season.
Ah.
And they're half-hour episodes, so it took like 4 hours to watch the whole thing, but it was so entertaining. Oh my God.
Worth it.
Well, all that to say, I actually thought he
Somewhere
was
in Queens,
a decent director. The only other thing I'll add about Somewhere in Queens is like there is a because it's Ray, and because I watched religiously Ray Romano in Everybody Loves Raymond, and my wife and I went through last year we need to turn our brain off and watch a show. I started from like season 6 on of Everybody Loves Raymond, and it was our show for a while. So he didn't disappear. There's a scene where he has to comfort his wife in some way. I don't want to give away too much, but the level of care, and I just didn't know he had this in him, I think, is that he's mostly in a lot of these other movies that we're giving him credit for not being Ray Romano, been supporting pieces. And he actually delivers like a monologue here that I was like, oh, like I'm actually like tearing up and like feeling something for how this husband and wife are connecting and about to go through something. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like if suddenly like I'll relate it to baseball, where like a guy that was like when CC Sabathia lost his fastball and you saw him like figure out ways to get guys out with like off speed stuff, right? Like I was like, oh, Ray, you have a changeup. Interesting. So that's Somewhere in Queens for me.
All right.
Yeah. Chris, you're number 7.
My number 7 is The Holdovers, so we'll pass it over to Tim for his number 7 and 6.
Yeah, my number 7 is actually, and I can't believe it's my number 7. Saltburn.
Okay,
that's actually a Saltburn conversation.
That's actually my number 5. So,
there you go.
All right,
Yep.
so
I think they're close enough, unless they're higher up on the list for Kevin.
Yeah,
okay, we can have a Saltburn conversation now. Go ahead.
Let's do it.
All right, so
this is one of those ones that I watched.
This is one of those ones, all right.
you watch one scene a few times. the bathtub oyster scene.
It's okay, Tim. Lucky for you, Chris is a vampire.
Yeah. Nah, I prefer grave fucking.
Grave fucking. Okay, that's where we're going. Okay. My goodness, this movie.
Yeah. So Tim, go for it, buddy.
Yeah.
How do I explain this movie? It's just one of those movies where at first you think they're being shocking.
Loss for words.
I'm at a loss for words because there's several things in this movie that are like, okay.
Well, there's a big thing.
there is a big thing.
I feel like you can hear it slapping around while that song was playing.
Go on, Drake.
I just went full Captain America. I understood that.
Like he was swinging a saber.
It's that Canadian blood.
That's what it is. Degrassi means giant hog in Canada.
That's why he's in the wheelchair.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Saltburn.
So Saltburn, check it out.
That's the best review ever.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead, Tim.
Just really quickly, and then I'm going to pass it to Chris. It's just one of those things where, like, yes, it's shocking for the sake of being shocking, but I like how calculated it gets. And I appreciate that. So that's why it was high on my list. It was well acted. I like the set pieces. Chris, what I know.
Just hand it off.
I came in the bathtub. It's your turn.
All right, I'm gonna lick it up now. So I loved Promising Young Woman. I mean, that was my number 2 movie the year that they came out.
Really good.
Emerald Fennell just fucking shot out of a cannon with that movie. Carey Mulligan was off the charts in that movie. And it's one of these movies that takes sort of what you think is kind of a standard, plot, and then sort of subverts it, adds some danger, adds some violence, some sex, some oddities to it, to make it better than the sum of its parts. And Saltburn is similar. It's essentially a take on the Talented Mr. Ripley, like this guy who's, not part of this elite society, but is going to insert himself in very manipulative ways in order to do that. And while the movie linearly makes you, at least at the beginning, makes it feel like he might be just sort of a sincere sad sack, as soon as he gets to the Saltburn estate, you realize, okay, there's more going on with this guy than, the movie initially sort of purports or lets on. The only false note for me in the movie, and Kevin and I actually discussed this,
is the Red Wings.
Over-explain. They literally go back and show the different things that he did in order to trigger the events to happen. Whereas if he just had the monologue with the mother in the bed, your mind is good enough to go back and replay all of those events and know exactly what they showed you. And so it doesn't trust you enough as the viewer to put that all together and end insanely strongly with the dance scene without the montage of showing me what he did. But aside from that, is there a better young actor than Barry Keoghan or however the fuck you pronounce his last name? He's in everything. He's The Killing of a Sacred Deer when I first saw him, and then followed that with Dunkirk. I was like, holy shit, this kid. And then everything he's done since, he's electric. He's one of these guys that has this. The other Irish movie. He's one of these. Yes, the Banshees of Inisherin. He's one of these guys that has this magnetism to him, even though he's not classically handsome or even good looking, quite frankly. But he's a star because he just sucks you into.
He sucks, all right.
I'm a star.
Yes. Yeah.
I know you're on a roll and we derailed.
No, it's okay. Listen, this movie deserves a Boogie Nights prosthetic cock reference. It's fine.
That wasn't prosthetic.
No. He is fantastic. Jacob Elordi, who I didn't know of him really. Like Katie was like, oh my God, this guy was in this, and this. He was fantastic. The sister, like the fucking family, Rosamund Pike and Richard E. Grant as the parents were just.
You watched it with the kids?
No. Katie watched it first, and I was like, you fucking watch this movie?
This is where, and I'm sure she could speak to it, TikTok has run with this movie.
Yeah, like people, because it debuted around Christmas on Prime, and it was like, oh, this is a big release. And then people are watching it with their families and like, fuck. Dads are like, what the fuck? So
it was a choice between that and Candy Cane Lane.
I knew I needed to watch this by myself. And then once I did, and I just found it so fucking entertaining and so much to go back and think about. And it stuck with me for days. I was like, Tara, you gotta watch this movie with me. And she watched it, and of course had the appropriate reactions for the 2 or 3 scenes that are exceptionally wild. But the movie isn't just about those scenes. At least for me, I feel like it doesn't have a purpose necessarily. It's not trying to say too much other than rich people are fucking whacked. And there's plenty of, sociopaths out there that can worm their way into your life. But watching that journey, it's a fucking ride. And I've been on that ride twice. I'll probably end up watching it a few more times before all is said and done over the next few years, just to revisit it. But man, was it fucking entertaining. So yeah, I had Saltburn at 5.
Kevin, what are your thoughts on Saltburn?
When I first watched it, it made my list. It was definitely up there. And then other movies came, knocked it off. I agree with what Christian said. It's not, those 3 scenes aren't the totality of the movie, but shock value is shock value. And that kind of the story itself, you're given enough to know where it's going. And I know people say, "Oh, it's predictable." It's like, sure, but that's not really the nature of this particular movie. I don't have a problem with that, but when thinking back on it, all I could really think about were those 3 scenes. That kind of took it down in my estimation. Great movies, and that's who hasn't been there, right? But I think that's
Does it count if it's your own?
By the way, the kid that played
you bleach smelling motherfucker. God damn it.
I'm still throwing Clorox, baby. The dude who played the friend. What was the friend's name?
I'm pulling it up now. Hold on. Keep going. I'll tell you the name.
The one that the father took care of his whole life and he's been living with them forever. The not to be reductive, but the gay black friend.
It was one.
Farley. So Farley was in Gran Turismo, that actually made my honorable mentions this year. Entertaining as hell and way better than I expected that movie to be. And he's great in that too. So like, I feel like he's an up and comer that's going to like do a lot of really good things too.
He was in Midsummer too. I don't know if you guys remember that movie.
Shit.
Yeah, he's one of the friends that goes on that retreat.
Wow. Yeah. You know what? I didn't even really put that together. Wow.
He's one of the, when they jump off the cliff, he was the most outraged by it. Then he and his girlfriend has to leave.
Yeah. Holy fuck. That's right. Yeah, he's been good, man. Like, I feel like he's going to be a guy the roles are going to start really coming fast and furious.
So many cum references.
Anyway, I know.
I think it's okay. I don't know. Did you have any more to add before? I'll give my 2 cents on it. I think that and this is again where our age differences may come into play here, fellas. Like, I knew most of the outrage scenes that were coming before I had seen the movie, because I just knew the TikTokification of this movie. Like, Jacob Elordi is like Leo to Gen Z at the moment, and like it's as if Titanic has already premiered, and we're just like riding those coattails for him. I think the talented Mr. Ripley of it all made it tough for me to find original stuff, but this is a good movie. Like, I was entertained by it, which is why I'm trying to give it a little more grace. I also echo your sentiments about Barry Keoghan, Chris, that the range he's been able to show throughout his young career so far, and we're not even talking about, arguably my favorite performance from his is the deleted scene of him as the Joker talking across the glass to Batman in the Batman last year.
Yeah. He's in Masters of Air, which is on Apple TV right now, about U.S. Pilots during World War II, and he's great in that. He plays like a Brooklyn guy. So he's, they tend to hide, overseas accents in New York. Deep, thick accents, and it's easy to do, but he does it well, and he's great.
Everybody talks about Chalamet, but Barry is definitely should be in a conversation, because
he would fuck Chalamet up in a fight too.
Ooh, that's a choice of words.
I think he's yes, Kevin. In an act off too. I think he's just more talented.
In an axe off.
Yeah,
he's got an axe off. Right.
Whatever, I don't give a fuck.
I will say this was also on my list. As I was watching the movie, I was like, I'm in. Like, what's the twist? When the twist happens and it's his birthday and they make the road trip, I was like, especially the depth to the actual thing he's trying to hide. Like, oh, you're not like, your life is fine, and this is what you're so like. So many times even the talented Mr. Ripley of it all, like, it's the poor trying to take advantage and attack. This is the middle not being okay with the middle, and I enjoyed that element of it. It's really the last like 15 minutes that knock it out of my top 10. But I don't, and it's literally the reasons that you're saying, Chris.
You didn't like the bouncing cock in the song? Come on.
Okay,
man.
maybe the last minute is fine, but the 15 minutes before, I was like, all right, this is
Murder
now
on the Dance Floor is on my Spotify top 10 list right now.
Dancing around the house for weeks.
There you go.
It's not as pretty of a sight at all.
It's absolutely not. It's not Barry level beautiful, but
yeah.
Now this is on YouTube. Maybe we'll get a reenactment going.
I do what I can. I mean, sure, let's do it.
Chris, you're number 6.
Wait, I thought I was on 6. It's a snake.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. You're 6.
My Tim is 6, and then we're coming
Andrew
back.
just likes to shuffle on from me.
Apologies. No, Tim, you're number 6.
I'm kidding. My number 6 is Talk to Me. And I know it's probably way higher up, not higher up, but it's probably not on the list for most people. But for me, I boiled down my top ones for stuff that I either was.
Tim and I saw this in the movies together, and we had one of the biggest laughs I think we ever had in our lives.
Oh, there's a few laughs.
There's
definitely a few laughs.
I made a very derogatory joke, and Tim
Jesus Christ.
heard me, and we lost our minds for a good 5 minutes.
Got it. Down
it wasn't derogatory. It was insensitive. Whatever it was terrible.
It was insensitive.
It was funny. It was funny. All right, Tim, talk to me.
I'm lightheaded. Oh my god,
that's great. Yo, this edit is going to be the best edit of all time,
and an actual edit too. See the light of day. Oh my god.
Sorry, Andrew.
No, you're good. It's an easy edit. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
So
it's all coming back to me.
Tim, have you seen it more than just the time that we saw it in the theater together?
Yeah, okay, so I've seen it a few times.
Yeah.
And while I don't like the ending, I like the road getting there. And I like the road getting there enough that it was high up on the list for me because I just had a good time with it. It was another one of those movies where I guess I kind of just shut my brain off and it was like, okay, take me where you're going to take me. And there's a couple of, and I hate to reuse the word a lot, but there's like at least one or two jarring scenes where it's like, wow, all right, that's pretty brutal. Pretty brutal. Stuff that'll make you go, and for that reason alone. And I thought it was actually pretty well acted too. And
that lead, the lead actress is fantastic.
She's definitely great.
Really, all the teens that are part of this group that's dealing with this are really, really good. Miranda Otto, who was in Lord of the Rings, plays the mom of the brother and sister. She's very good.
Yep.
I agree. The acting's, it does. Similar, self-harm wise to like the beginning of When Evil Lurks, possession and all, was kind of a theme running through both of these films.
Horror theme of the year.
Yeah, definitely. And which is interesting because typically it's been overdone so much that like, could those be good or fresh or new? And we have 2 movies this year that actually are. What's interesting is for me, I actually, first of all, this is like one of the few A24 movies that is, and part of it I think is because they bought it and didn't actually make it. Where
I think it's a
horror movie that is actually a horror movie that delivers on the promise of the trailer. Like it's not like It Comes at Night where nothing came at night, or some of the other movies where you're thinking it's one thing and it's completely something else that is not nearly what you wanted. This is legitimately a horror movie and a very good one. I honestly thought it shortchanged some of the shots and scenes where she's able to see what's happening with the younger brother and the hell that he's in, it's flashes. And they're effective flashes because it's horrifying and it makes your brain, I think, obviously that was the intent. It makes your brain want to like see what was like, show me more. I wanted to see more. Like if they gave me a little bit more in those scenes and I saw a little bit more and I was able to be horrified a little bit more by that, I think that that would have put the movie over the top for me and maybe would have jumped it higher than When Evil Lurks versus being an honorable mention.
I think that's where budget comes in.
Yeah, and maybe that's it. Maybe that is it. But otherwise, I mean, really just, some creepiness. I was, generally like shocked at a few scenes. It's a jarring movie, and it lived up to the hype train more than a lot of those movies do. So I got to give it respect for that.
It's an honorable for me too. I think I'll just, maybe this is even stronger of a take that it's not going to make sense that I'm going to say this and this didn't make my top 10. It's my favorite first 45 minutes of a movie this year. The tracking shot in the beginning to the introduction of the hand and the game that they're playing, how they Gen Z or 2023 it up, and the virality of like these kids just like don't know what they're doing. It's like watching a 90s movie and the kids are playing with a gun, not knowing like the danger of what's going on.
Yeah,
or like knowing but not caring because they're invincible. Because
it was like watching kids, except instead of AIDS, it was a possessed hand.
I mean, not for nothing. That's I think why I enjoyed the beginning of the movie so much. And then once the brother goes under and you recognize that that's the movie going forward is when it takes me out of it a little bit. But I've rewatched the first 45 a couple, not all the way through a few times, but like that's like, I agree, Tim, it's outstanding stuff. I think it's the rest of the movie that I'm just not as interested in. That
I agree with you at the end. I agree with you that towards the end it starts getting to be paint by numbers and boring.
Yeah.
But I still that first 45, you're right, the first hour I would say really is like pretty stellar.
There's just an energy to every single time they do the thing that I'm just like, oh, I'm intrigued by this. Oh, who's going to happen next? And after that goes away, it's where I was less interested, Right. Kevin, what did you think of this movie?
When I first watched it, it was something I considered could possibly make a list, but ultimately I really liked the story. I thought the ending was just not for me. And that really brought it down in my estimation. It is good. There's a lot good that I think it's probably like in my 30s or something like that. Probably wouldn't watch it again. If they have a sequel come out, I might check it out. But they
are having a sequel, and it's talked to me.
Fuck off.
Yeah, I think I may tap out at that point because
you know what's funny, Kev? I also probably I have rewatched the parts of it.
I've watched it a couple times since, and I agree, like it does fade, but like,
can they say name it Part 2 Electric Boogaloo? I'll go see it then.
Well done. What I was gonna say is like I've recommended it, which is like the best review you can make of a movie. Right. Like, oh yeah, I think you'll enjoy this. Now, here's where the strike, Tim, comes into play. This was the only thing that got released for like 3 months that was worth seeing. So I recommended this to so many people. Like, well, there's nothing good playing. Oh, you haven't seen Talk to Me? I enjoyed that.
Might as well go see that.
Yeah. So.
And that's the thing. I think I haven't had enough time to really resonate everything they've watched since December. Whereas Talk to Me was one of those ones where like I didn't just see it with Chris. I went back to see it because when I saw it with Chris, we laughed a lot. I thought it was good, but I wasn't sure. So I went back to see it, and I ended up really enjoying it, except that ending. So,
all right, Talk to Me. You're number 6.
Chris, you're 6.
My 6th is something that Kevin recommended to me. and it might be higher on his list. I'm not sure, but it's a movie that sat with me for a really long time. It's a movie that I didn't think, I thought I'd be interested in it. It was on a bunch of lists, but the way in which it sort of burrowed its way into my heart and mind, and then just continued to think about it after it was done, and thinking back on the performances and everything else, and the heartbreak of the story, Past Lives. It was that one hurt. And not hurt in the sense that like it was a sad story or it's just, there's no happy ending that you can envision for any of these characters that is ultimately better than the current situation that they're in. And to me, that's the mark of like a great script, right? They're all in these complex relationships. They have loves and they have loves of their lives, but who's to say one is better than the other? So sitting through that movie completely just with it, the acting was phenomenal. I was upset that the lead actress didn't get nominated for Best Actress for the Academy Awards, because she was pretty much nominated for every other, major award that we've had this season. She was fantastic. And the dude, her husband, he was in the Umbrella Academy. He's been in a few things. The level of compassion and understanding. Is that his name?
Yeah, John Magaro.
Okay.
Or Magaro, not sure.
The level of compassion, understanding, patience that he exhibited in that movie is something that I'll never be able to understand, but it's something that I admire. And so when that movie ended, and it was one that, again, like I was like, Tara, trust me, like let's watch this. And it was like, oh, she started to like look up from her phone because she had to read the Korean or the Asian subtitle. What, Korean, right? Yeah, they're from Seoul. The Korean subtitles. By the end of that movie and days afterwards, we were still talking about like, what did you want to have happen and what did happen and how these characters handled these different situations. Oh, it just, it was a pleasant surprise. Wasn't surprised so much because Kevin highly recommended it, but it was pleasant that I really just responded to it and loved it that much. And then I'll shut up.
No, because that was a blind spot for me, and I didn't get to check it out yet. And it
I believe it's on Showtime right now.
It's up online, so you can watch it on streaming.
Yeah, it's in that cluster of honorables, but like I could absolutely be where Air is. I figured it'd be higher up for everybody because I haven't met anybody that's mixed on it. It's usually like I haven't seen it or I loved it, and I think that's. I rewatched literally right before we jumped on for this. I rewatched when they go out for pasta, after. And just that whole conversation and what it becomes and then how it ends. It's like you said, it's heartbreaking, but it's also like you can't tell if there's closure at the end, but
it's just so layered and real. Like like every part, there's not a false note there. It could go in any direction. I think it ultimately goes in the right direction. It felt true. Yeah, I mean, what a screenplay, what acting. It was just it's a beautiful, happy, sad, funny, upsetting love story.
Yeah. This was my number 2 for the longest time this year. And then
it got pushed all the way back
started to come out.
Mentions.
Yeah. Well, movies started to come out. And then, because I saw this around June or earlier in the year, I should say. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Oh, it's my turn.
So that was my 5. My 6. Sorry.
So my number 6. Let me pull up my list again. Give me 1 second. My number 6 is a movie on Netflix called May December. I'm curious where you guys go with this. So I was not conscious when the what's the Letourneau,
Mary Kay Letourneau
thing
and
happened.
Billy Falau.
Billy Fulau. I will just say this. There's so for those who haven't seen it, it's on Netflix now. It is directed by Todd Haynes. This is a story about Natalie Portman, who is an actress that is preparing for a role to play a version of the Mary Kay Letourneau story. So she's going in, spending a week with the Letourneau Fulau family. But again, they're not actually. And
by the way, Andrew, like I know you mentioned kind of the like I don't know if you remember, this was like fucking nightly.
Oh yeah,
this was like OJ.
Yeah. This was covered like OJ.
Yeah.
I'm too young to know the story.
We found out that teachers were fucking students ad nauseum.
Yeah. Now
there's one a week, and like they just go to jail. But this was like the one where they actually were in love.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were in love.
This pretty Florence Nightingale white woman.
So what I will say about this movie is I was in for the absurdity for a while. Like, all right, this is whatever. The Charles Melton performance and the depth he gives to this character that obviously was, I mean, he was preyed upon by his teacher and what he's grown up with in it's 2015 in this movie, where he's like in his mid 30s and didn't get to have a childhood and didn't get to really grow up outside of being a seventh grader that, you know, got caught up with this thing with his teacher and then like had kids with her and started a family. So he was way too young to be a father, way too young to be responsible. And now revisiting all of this, which is what I think the cool part about the screenplay for me is the juxtaposition of what Natalie Portman's there to do, which she accomplishes, which is just to learn about these people and to try and...
Oh, she learns.
Well, she literally has firsthand experience with what Mary Kay went through. Or I guess in the movie, I'm trying to find what Julianne Moore's character, who Gracie was, and also who Joe is.
Will you be my mom?
Well, in a different way. So Natalie Portman. I'm trying to land the plane, guys.
All right, let's let Andrew land the plane.
So I admire the mirror that gets held up to Hollywood in this, in that Natalie Portman is playing an actress that all she's there to do is learn how to play a role as best as she possibly can. And the feelings and the issues and the anxieties and the problems with, like, specifically with the Charles Melton character, with what Joe's going through and what he's experiencing. There's a scene on a rooftop where he starts to amazing. Like where he actually says the thing. And I wondered if for a while, if like, oh, that's way too in your face. But no, he actually has to say the words that he's probably been bottling up because like he hasn't actually been able to. Like he's the mind and the maturity of his 17-year-old son. But my goodness, he's like in his 30s at this point. Like he's not old enough to be a father. And yet he had to learn at a young age. The amount of depth that Haynes gives to, and I forget the screenwriter's name, but the way that they really build on that, and you're just heartbroken for him at the end of the movie. And where this solidified where it is on my list was when they actually show Portman do a scene from the movie that she's going to be in and how much of a piece of shit that movie's going to be. And it's like, oh my gosh. So you went and like screwed up these people's lives for
a lifetime,
like for a lifetime original thing. And it's just, there's so many different layers to how much I appreciated them. Like I thought they kicked the extra point is what I'll say. I thought they really nailed what they were going for.
And you're 100% right, because it brought me back to when they did the 3 Amy Fisher movies, right?
Of varying quality,
qualities.
By the way, how dare they try to pass Drew Barrymore off as Amy Fisher?
Amy Fisher. Alyssa Milano.
I'll take Alyssa Milano all day.
Clearly,
Drew Barrymore. Come on.
Oh, I don't even know who played the third one. It was nobody.
Yeah, I don't know. But so, go ahead, Tim.
Oh yeah, but you're 100% right, Andrew. It just brought me back to a time they perfectly did it. So, Chris, what were you gonna say?
And I was gonna say, in my honorable mentions, I literally have written Joe Melton's performance in May December.
Okay, so it's not the movie; it's Joe Melton's performance.
Yeah.
It's also Charles Melton playing Joe in the movie. Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
But, whatever. It's Joe.
I know what you meant.
And
The
Melton's
Melton
performance.
the guy who played Billy Falau, who's not really Billy Falau.
Mm-hmm.
He was fantastic. There's definitely elements of the movie that I was in on. Julianne Moore's lisp took me out of it a little bit. It's very sort of like I've seen Julianne Moore do all sorts of amazing things and nuanced performances, and that just seemed like a crutch for that character that was so obvious and in my estimation poorly executed. Natalie Portman is actually fantastic because she's usually, Black Swan aside, she's usually like the innocent in a way. And so to see her sort of sucking the life out of these people for her own gain was really great to see. And I just think ultimately it's probably one of those things where it's somewhere on the list of that's a better than not movie that I saw this year. But it sort of, I don't know, like it petered out. Like I was very much like, okay, let's see this story and let's see how they connect. And then I think once she kind of wormed her way a little too far into the family, that's when I checked out a little bit. I don't know why, but he was just, Charles Melton was incredible.
So what's funny before I go to Kev is I agree with you about the Julianne Moore lisp, that I was like, all right, this is ridiculous, but I actually think it's intended because that's something for Portman's character to learn, because she has to, like, it's an element of what she's studying. And
right. It's also the one thing that she really ultimately displays when they get to that last scene is, this is what I took out of all of this.
And and this is where I have to harp on
caricature level.
I have to harp on like the absurdity of Hollywood and how like the different things she does. Like when she goes to the pet store and she pretends to reenact the sex scene, and I'm just like, this is stupid. And I think that's part of the satire. Like it's not full satire, but I think it's part of what they're going for. It's like,
but even just the amount of takes that she wants to do at the end of that for a piece of shit. Like she fancies herself as, this is my Oscar performance. And it's so clear to us, the viewer, that no, this is garbage and it's laughable. It just, again, you're right. It shows how ridiculous the machine is in Hollywood.
Yep. Yeah. Kevin, what did you think?
Your thoughts?
I think it's camp without actually being camp. So that's a really weird thing. I fucking love the movie, by the way. Melton is one of the 3 best performances of last year, male and female. And the fact he wasn't nominated is complete bullshit.
Unbelievable.
That day when it came out, I was like, he's definitely getting a nomination. I was like, oh, okay. Because as Andrew, as you pointed out, watching him play a little boy trapped in the adult male's body, that was heartbreaking. That was fucking tough to watch. But that was once again high on my list, and then other movies came.
Yeah.
Afterwards, yeah.
He's literally a kid collecting butterflies, and he's asked to be the father of 2 kids, and like he's going to his kid's high school graduation, and he never got to go to high school and be like a normal. The depth that's added through his character, I think that's why it's so high for me. Is
it elevates the movie absolutely?
Because being able, okay,
nominate him. Just saying.
So you know what's funny, Kev? I think at his expense, Sterling K. Brown got the nomination, which is tough for me because I love both performances. You know.
Well, I think Sterling K. has been a front runner for most of the awards season, so
he was considered a surprise.
That's what I was surprised, because I thought Melton was the 5th spot, and because of the Golden Globes, and then Sterling K. Brown showed up, and American Fiction got like 5 nominations. You know,
I would have went Melton.
I would have gone Melton 100%. Like I said, I love Brown's performance, but this was
amazing. But
this is next level.
Agreed.
I go with echo what Kevin said. It's a top 3 performance of the year for me.
So easily.
Yeah. All right. So now we got Kevin. You've got 2. Number 6 and
number 6. I'm not going to talk about it much because I'm pretty sure it's going to be higher. This is a movie that I believe will actually win Best Picture. It possibly should. Christopher Nolan.
Mm-hmm.
Oppenheimer is fucking. It's an event. It's impressive. There's obviously a moment which we all probably really wanted to see. It blew me the fuck away watching it. My issue with the movie, why it's not higher, is the same thing going back to my thoughts on Dunkirk. I think visually it's impressive. I felt nothing for the actual characters for a long stretch. It's an interesting movie without actually captivating me. And there are definitely movies that I thought were better that actually have lower on my list. But technically, this was fucking impressive. So this was, like I said, that's I'll leave it at that because I'm sure we're going to get into that a little bit.
Much higher for me.
Yes. My number 5, The Holdovers.
Okay.
Paul Giamatti is fucking amazing.
Should we just talk about that now? Because I think it's or does Andrew? Do you have it higher?
I'm down to talk about it now. This is my number 3.
It was my 9.
So it was my 7.
You're 7, so it's my 3. We can have the conversation now.
Fair enough.
I think that averages out to a 5. So there you go.
Learning afterwards that was Dominic Sessa's first ever performance, and granted, I never saw him before, but holy shit! But
fantastic.
Him and then Divine Joy Randolph, who is one of the other in the top 3 performances of the year for me personally.
I think outshines everybody
by far.
Yeah, but we also take Giamatti for granted because no matter what, he comes through.
I think the prosthetic helped him a lot in this role in terms of giving him more than just the basic. He's amazing. He's fucking
incredible.
Outshined by the fucking. I guess,
of course, absolutely,
it blew my mind.
And I think that's by design. And I think he would say I absolutely defer to my castmates on this movie because their journeys are far meatier than his. Though I don't want to dismiss the fact that he does come, not full circle, but he's got an arc of his own.
He's great to guide the other arcs. That's what it is. He's more of even though he's the focus, he's more of a side, and everybody else's arc is way more interesting. So he kind of guides the rest of them along. He's fantastic though. But she is amazing.
That's the record player. I mean that felt real. That was not obviously it's acting, but that was not comfortable to watch whatsoever.
No, it wasn't. It was definitely raw.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, what's interesting to me, obviously being an Alexander Payne film, and he's an auteur. Mm-hmm. He's got a sensibility that is very clear in all the movies he's made. He shot out of a cannon in his first few movies. And then, they were like, oh, this is an Alexander Payne film. Let's automatically give it positive reviews. And I was like, no, this is not great. The Descendants and, there's just been a bunch of shit in his catalog.
The Wes Anderson thing.
Yeah. Yes. Who also insists upon himself. But
I ain't saying shit.
To me, this movie, it was almost like he needed someone else to write a really interesting script and then go, here, Alexander, how would you frame this up? How would you shoot this? How would you take this script and put your skill as a director and apply it to this? And let's make a really great movie together with the blending of the two. And so I actually think the movie benefits from the fact that he didn't write the screenplay and it's not fully his.
I agree with you.
Because it's really well written, but it's also really well acted. And it's also incredibly well shot and directed. It's so of the 70s, just even in the film stock they use and the way that the aspect ratio that he shoots it in is tighter than a normal widescreen movie. It's just
That bar looks like a Miller Lite commercial.
Yeah, it's a fully collaborative effort that comes out. And I think it came out around Christmas. Thankfully, they made it pretty readily available via streaming around that time. I think everybody walked away from that movie feeling something. You feel it in your gut, you feel it in your heart. It's not overly depressing. It's not overly happy. There are wins for each of the characters. There's tough things they still have to go through. But in the end, what a satisfying, just overall movie.
So I'm going to make an adjustment on my list and put it from 3 to 5. Because again, list mechanics. There's 2 that are just like very clear. My 1 and 2. My 3 through 5 are interchangeable. And I'd like to talk about it now. So we'll have my number 5 now be the holdovers. The learning more and more about Giamatti's character, about why he's such a curmudgeon and what has happened to him when he runs into his old college classmate, and you realize what happened to him and what set him back the way it did. For a while the performance for me was a bit cartoonish, and then the more understanding you get to, that's why you're so like locked into your habits and your patterns, and you were so fucked over by life. And now you meet another kid that's been pretty fucked over by life himself, and it's the thing that awakens any hint of empathy in you. And, that's nothing to say of how much he relates and converses and bonds with Daphne Joy Randolph's character too. It hits you right in the heartstrings, and the transformation from when everyone leaves for break to when they come back for break, he's still the same hard-nosed curmudgeon teacher, but man, the now relationship, he's now able to find someone to relate to and someone to care for. And at least, I love the last shot of this movie, and now his life can re-begin again. And I love this movie. And like you said, all 3 performances are great. And I think I also want to say equally great, but I admit that like each one gets its moment to shine, which is pretty cool. So
yeah, I think Kev, one of the things you mentioned just about the fact that, hey, who knew that this was his kid's first experience, because he's so great in it. The character is so layered, because this could very easily be a kid that shrinks back into his own shell because of how life is shitting on him. But instead, he's got a confidence and a personality about him that he's still able to sort of connect with people and experience these situations without just sort of being the wallflower. And it's the actor, I forget his name. I mean, he plays it so perfectly that it's magnetic, and it really does shine. And then when you pair these 3 together, it's like the oddest throuple, but they bring an energy that just, like you feed off of.
That's why it's the best written thing of the year, in my opinion. It's because it's if it's not, it's up there.
No, yes, definitely.
Because Giamatti's character being the shepherd for all the other arcs, while having his own little arc, it really just the story's like a fucking stew, and everything thrown in the pot just works. And I don't know. It's just really, it's just one of those things that resonated, and the performances are fucking great, man. So,
yeah, it was one of those where it ended. My heart felt full.
Yeah,
not necessarily full of happiness. It just felt full.
Yeah,
yeah. The moment at the movie theater where the kid sneaks out, and like I noticed like throughout the movie, Giamatti, I want to make sure I get the character's name. Hold on. So Hunnam, anytime he had stepped out of line. It's like, all right, that's it. We're cutting everything off. Like the understanding just ends there because this kid can't follow the rules. And the slight hint of development that's added, that it's like, you wanted to go see your dad? And it's like, all you had to do was ask. And then the next scene is them going to his dad. And it's on its own is its own emotional journey. This movie stuck with me a lot after seeing it. And it may become a Christmas movie that I revisit every year. So, I'll make The Holdovers my number 5.